Hello, dear friends, and welcome back. Today, I want to share a topic with you about learning how to learn. Perhaps many of us have faced this situation. During our school days, we often saw classmates who grasped knowledge effortlessly and aced exams, while we ourselves struggled to understand everything. Later, in the workplace, we notice some individuals not only excel at their main jobs, but also generate passive income through side hustles, while we work hard and are busy every day, yet our results fall short of expectations. We might think they're just naturally smart, inherently talented, which is why they achieve so many goals at once. Sometimes, we even feel envious of these brilliant individuals, or we console ourselves. They have innate abilities, but I'm just an ordinary person, so there's no point in comparing ourselves. But perhaps by thinking this way, you've already begun to deny yourself opportunities for growth. In reality, modern people are too accustomed to labeling themselves. You'll often hear things like, girls aren't suited for science subjects, or why would a boy study humanities? Or I'm not cut out for physics. I'm afraid of numbers. I'm terrible at it, and so on. When you say things like this, that's when you've started to deceive yourself. As physicist Richard Feynman once said, the first principle is that you must not fool yourself and you are the easiest person to fool. The author of today's book, Dr. Barbara Oakley, was someone who intensely disliked math and science as a child, yet she later became a PhD and professor of engineering at Oakland University, Rochester, Michigan. She has used her own experiences, coupled with the latest research in neuroscience, comprehensive psychology, and thinking models, to show us that if you can't learn well or persevere, it's not because you aren't diligent enough, but rather because we haven't yet adopted scientific learning methods. Today's book will help you transform from struggling to learn into becoming a successful learner, perhaps even achieving a more versatile state in many fields. Regardless of what you want to learn, whether you're a student preparing for an exam, pursuing a master's or PhD, wanting to self-learn a new skill for a career change, or simply aiming to improve yourself based on your strengths, you can find useful guidance here. Now, let's dive into a discussion titled Learning How to Learn, Building Core Competence through Dr. Barbara Oakley's book, A Mind for Numbers, How to Excel at Math and Science, which has also been translated into Vietnamese as The Way to Conquer Math and Science. First, we need to understand what learning ability truly is. Learning ability isn't about rote memorization or being able to instantly recite a piece of information, a poem, or an event. Instead, it encompasses the psychological characteristics and individual needs to engage in learning, combined with various other abilities required to successfully complete learning activities including cognitive ability, observation, reading comprehension, memory, and problem-solving. In other words, learning ability is essentially a comprehensive competence that helps you master certain foundational concepts and skills, and then apply them in real-world situations. So how can we improve our learning ability? The core essence of this book lies in 3 key phrases. First, transforming your mindset. Second, building knowledge chunks. Third, removing learning barriers. First, we need to learn how to transform our thinking patterns. What does transforming thinking patterns mean? Before we delve into this concept, let's consider an experiment. A scientist placed several bees inside a glass jar with a wide opening, laid it horizontally, with the base facing a window where light entered. The result was that these bees continuously flew towards the base of the jar, desperately trying to find a way out until they died. In contrast, when scientists put several flies into the same jar under similar conditions, it only took them a few minutes to find their way out. The reason is that the flies didn't stubbornly try to head towards the light. Instead, they flew haphazardly around the jar, trying various approaches, and eventually found the exit. In reality, our learning process isn't much different from the bees trapped in the jar. When we focus and think, our brain acts like a flashlight, guiding us to seek out solutions. However, being too eager to find the light can lead you into a dead end and easily fall into the Einstellung-Effekte mental block, where intense focus on a problem can make you rigid in your thinking, preventing you from generating better solutions due to pre-existing ideas. This is why we often encounter one of the biggest difficulties in learning, maintaining mental clarity for extended periods. You might open a book with enthusiasm but quickly get discouraged and distracted. You might get stuck on a difficult problem, try to concentrate on solving it, but eventually give up, leading to stress and self-blame, thinking you're inadequate. In reality, the solution at this point is extremely simple. Stop focusing and switch your thinking mode to another. Neuroscientists have discovered that our brain operates in two modes: focused mode and diffused mode. In a relaxed state, our brain constantly switches between these two modes in daily life, and both are crucial for learning. This means you must learn to actively switch between these two thinking modes appropriately. For example, when dealing with new concepts or problems you haven't encountered before, if you immediately use focused mode to solve them, you'll easily get stuck and lose direction. At this point, we should switch to diffused mode to quickly escape the impasse and free ourselves from stress. When we are in diffuse thinking mode, this relaxed state allows different brain regions to connect, bringing you brilliant and valuable moments of insight. It won't allow you to concentrate on solving a specific problem, but it can provide a more comprehensive, macroscopic view and inspire you. The great inventor Thomas Edison is a prime example for us to learn from. When faced with a difficult problem, he wouldn't stay up all night laboring to solve it. Instead, he would take a nap. He'd sit in an armchair with a ball in his hand. In this semi-conscious state, his brain would gradually relax and shift into diffused thinking mode. When the ball suddenly dropped from his hand, creating a sound as it hit a plate, he would awaken. At this moment, Edison would grasp the lingering fragments of his diffused thoughts and creatively solve the problem. This is precisely the technique used to transform thinking. According to creativity research expert H. Sir, he proposed the 3BS method: bed, sleep, bath, shower, and bus, go for a ride. When you encounter a problem you can't immediately solve, you can choose one of these three ways. Simply set aside your work for a moment and do something different, whether it's sleeping, showering, taking a bus, listening to music, or going for a solitary walk. Or at the very least, allow yourself some time for unconscious thinking. You will naturally switch from focused mode to diffused mode. After relaxing, you can return to your previous task, and at this point, inspiration will easily strike, and a new solution will emerge in your mind. Additionally, you could exercise, dance, watch a movie, read a favorite novel, and so on. Or the final method, taking a short nap, is also a very good solution. But here's an important thing you need to remember. You must have the self-discipline to return to your work, not relax for an entire day. To maintain a sustainable rhythm and boost your learning efficiency, providing your brain with more nourishment, the Pomodoro technique is a suitable choice. Or, if you need to do a lot of intense thinking, you can switch to diffused mode for a longer duration. So that was the mindset transformation method that the author particularly emphasizes in our learning process. Next, when we talk about learning, ability, memory, comprehension, and real-world application are considered the most crucial aspects. The book shares an example from the late 20th century in the Soviet Union. A reporter named Solomon possessed extraordinary memorization skills. He could recall anything perfectly, word for word, after seeing or hearing it just once. However, this perfect memorization ability actually caused difficulties for Solomon himself, preventing him from understanding the essence of things. From this problem, the author suggests that memory isn't about remembering after one or a few times, but about understanding the core nature of the problem. Through this, she proposes a concept called knowledge chunks to address this issue. So, what exactly are knowledge chunks? First, we need to understand how humans memorize things. For example, when a child learns to speak, they start with their first words, like mom. In this process, our brain actually goes through two stages: focusing and repeating the word. When we concentrate on something, nerve cells in the brain begin to activate, connecting specific related parts to what we're focusing on. So, when focusing to remember the word mom, nerve cells link to thoughts of a smile, comfort, and a mother's embrace. Then, during speaking practice, we repeat the word mom over and over, forming a neural loop in the brain. When this loop is activated, it creates a memory trace, and it combines with many other related memory traces, making you remember the word for a long time. So, focusing and repeating is the process of creating memory traces. During this process, our brain also has a hidden ability to select and find key, related points, assembling them into a whole. This whole is what we call a knowledge chunk. Looking back at Solomon's case, he had numerous memory traces containing a rich variety of colors and emotions. But this very fact hindered him when trying to create generalized knowledge chunks. We can understand it this way. If there's a forest, each tree was so vivid to Solomon that he only saw individual trees and failed to recognize the entire forest. Yet, the task of memorization requires us to see the whole forest. Therefore, initially, we shouldn't focus too much on any single tree, but rather build knowledge chunks first, and only then focus and repeat. So, here are 3 crucial steps we need to take to build knowledge chunks. The first step is to focus on the information you need to build. This means you must concentrate absolutely on meaningful and related information. If you're distracted, like constantly checking Facebook, it will be very difficult to build a knowledge chunk. Starting to learn something new requires not only creating a new neural pattern, but also connecting this new pattern with existing ones in our brain. If you're distracted at this step, it's very hard to move on. The second step is to temporarily ask yourself to understand the basic knowledge and be able to synthesize the main ideas. That's enough. We don't need to delve too deeply. The third step is to gather foundational information. Foundational information means stepping away from the initial problem and looking at it from a broader perspective. At this step, you need to learn in 2 directions simultaneously. First, you need to learn from the bottom up, meaning continuously building knowledge chunks, reviewing and repeating to establish and solidify them. Simultaneously, you need to learn from the top down, meaning reading to expand your knowledge base, reviewing, and practicing to understand all issues, both related and unrelated, to the knowledge chunk. Place the knowledge chunk within the larger picture, the foundational information to know when and where to use it. This is similar to how we read a book. First, to get an overview, we should skim each chapter, focusing on the main ideas and sections, with the goal of understanding what the entire book is generally about. Then, place the knowledge chunk within that general foundation to know when to use and apply it in practice. These 3 steps have been incredibly useful for me when learning and reading about a new field. They help me form a broad, comprehensive picture, and within that picture, I can clearly understand each piece of information, connecting related pieces into a chain, and then further integrating them with other existing knowledge chunks in my mind. This continuously expands my overall understanding. With this method, you will master knowledge, and your learning ability and efficiency will steadily improve. Next, a crucial part we need to explore is the methods that help you consolidate the knowledge chunks you've built. First, we have the recall method. During your studies, I wonder if you frequently use a particular method, reading and summarizing the main points. If so, be careful, as this can be an ineffective learning approach. Psychologists suggest that after reading something many times, we develop an illusion and a false sense that we fully understood the knowledge. However, in reality, we've only grasped the surface and haven't truly comprehended it. Later, when you need to apply the related knowledge, our memories become blurry. Therefore, Dr. Barbara argues that during learning, we must regularly practice daily recall to consolidate knowledge chunks. Here's how to correctly practice recall. After reading a page of a book or learning a new piece of information, for instance, you can look away and recall that knowledge. Or, at another ideal time, each evening after studying, you can close your eyes and recall the content you've learned. This will cause your brain to automatically extract important concepts, build knowledge chunks, and help you master the information more effectively. However, in my opinion, you should try to do this earlier, before the day ends, as doing it right before bed can make your mind feel stressed and hinder restful sleep. Additionally, the author reminds us to pay close attention to exercising caution when highlighting and underlining while reading. Do not overdo this note-taking method, as it's not only less effective but can also mislead you. Highlighting makes us deceive ourselves into thinking our brain is actively working, when in reality, we're just moving our hand. Typically, highlighting only a key sentence or, at most, a paragraph is sufficient. Furthermore, you should make notes in the margins of the book with the key concepts and viewpoints you've personally extracted, so you can review them anytime. Another method to consolidate knowledge chunks is to test yourself. Whatever content we learn or receive, we must also self-test by asking ourselves questions based on our existing knowledge. Finally, another crucial part to help you boost your learning ability is knowing how to remove learning barriers. The biggest learning barrier for modern people right now is procrastination and the inability to maintain absolute focus. Regarding procrastination, a previous discussion shared a similar view with this book. We shouldn't try our absolute hardest, using every ounce of strong self-control to combat procrastination. It will only be futile. Our brain is much like a mobile phone. Psychological energy is like battery life. If you deplete it all during the day and don't recharge it at night, you won't be able to start the next day. For example, when you're on a diet, you might control your cravings during the day and stick to healthy eating. But after a long day, you might lose control and have a massive, satisfying meal. That's why the author emphasizes that to deal with procrastination, you can't rely solely on willpower. First and foremost, it's crucial to understand the fundamental nature and causes of your procrastination. This book offers a new discovery compared to others, revealing why our brains procrastinate. First, while many reasons lead to procrastination, the deeper cause is actually fear. Medical research shows that one reason people avoid learning math is that merely thinking about it activates the pain center in the brain, causing them to instinctively shrink back. Subsequently, they tend to avoid it and immediately seek something that provides instant gratification. Thus, they pursue immediate pleasure. Humans have an innate instinct to avoid pain, but frequent avoidance can lead to negative long-term consequences. Procrastination research expert Riddard Amed once said that the fear of a task consumes more time and energy than actually doing the task itself. Furthermore, a study found that when people who fear math actually start learning it, the fear disappears. What does this mean? It means that fear is merely your initial predictive feeling. You don't truly fear it. Once you overcome this feeling, you can conquer the little devil inside you. Next, reason number 2. In some specific cases, the cause of procrastination is an underlying gambling mentality within you. For example, have you ever experienced this? You've completed a task right at the deadline, even pulling an all-nighter, and despite being exhausted, you still achieved a decent result. This might have made you feel quite exhilarated. However, it's no different from gambling. When you achieve a small success in a short amount of time, you become optimistic and ready to repeat it. Some even believe that deadlines are the most powerful productivity boosters, so they constantly use them as an excuse to procrastinate, waiting until the last minute. While completing work on time might boost your efficiency in the short term, over time, you can't always rely on luck and smooth sailing. Moreover, this approach is only suitable for tasks that don't require comprehensiveness and systematic effort. If you face a larger task, it will be very difficult to ensure work quality and truly develop your own abilities. And the third reason we procrastinate is because we have to do things we're not good at or we're overly perfectionistic. When you encounter a task significantly harder than your current capabilities and you don't know where to start, it often leads to procrastination. And the mentality of wanting perfect, complete preparation always makes you hesitate. However, you need to understand that it's better to just get started and complete it, rather than striving for perfection. So, what approach has the author given us to overcome procrastination and achieve absolute focus? Procrastination is truly addictive, and being addicted means it has become your habit. Therefore, the author suggests that the most crucial way to defeat procrastination is by changing the habit loop. What is a habit loop? It's the process by which a person's habits are formed, activated, and maintained. You can learn more about how habits are formed and how to eliminate bad habits through the book Tiny Habits, which we've discussed in detail previously. Here, Dr. Barbara divides the habit loop into 4 steps: the cue, the routine, the reward mechanism, and the belief. By consciously altering these steps, we can eliminate the habit of procrastination and achieve absolute focus. So, in the first step, we need to avoid the interference of cues. For example, on your weekend to-do list, the first task you choose might be cleaning the house. This is a trigger. However, this trigger can easily be influenced by other triggers. For instance, as you stand up and prepare to clean, you suddenly receive a message from a friend. So, you have to temporarily stop your work to chat with them. The message from your friend is a new trigger. Therefore, you need to create an environment free of distracting cues to avoid being affected. For example, turn off your phone, disconnect from the internet, and disable notifications for a specific period. The next step is to adjust the routine, which comprises the brain's usual and automatic responses when it receives a cue. Typically, whenever there's a cue of pressure or the stimulation from that little instant gratification devil appears within you, we tend to shift our focus from a difficult task to an easier and more enjoyable one. Therefore, it's crucial to change how you react to this cue. For example, during work, many thoughts might arise that easily distract you. At this moment, you can temporarily jot down these thoughts and reasons for your lack of focus on a piece of paper and deal with them after you've completed your task. Additionally, you can use the Pomodoro technique. Set a specific period for focused work, and during this time, no matter what distractions arise, strive not to stop the task at hand. Then, step number 3 is self-reward. For instance, after a period of focused work, you might step outside for a short break to relax. When you complete your daily tasks on time, you can allow yourself to relax by watching a movie. Or you could make an agreement with yourself that if you make significant progress on a certain task, you'll reward yourself with something you love. In essence, the power of a habit lies in its ability to create an emotional craving. To overcome a previous craving, we need a new reward that generates feelings of pride, satisfaction, and accomplishment. Only when your brain begins to anticipate this new reward will a significant transformation occur, allowing you to form a new habit. Finally, in the last step, we need to build strong belief to change the habit of procrastination. The most important thing is to believe that you can definitely do it. To develop this belief, you need to declare it to yourself and continuously affirm it by keeping an action journal. This method is very simple. Write in it once a week. At the beginning of the week, you should list the important tasks that need to be done. Then, each day, list a reasonable and achievable set of tasks. Planning your day should be done the evening before, as it can help you find solutions when you encounter problems. Furthermore, in my personal experience, having to choose what to work on first thing in the morning consumes some brain energy and can make you less focused throughout the day. The next thing we need to pay attention to is that the number of tasks shouldn't be too many. The book advises setting only 5 to 10 goals a day, but for me, I usually aim for only 3 to 5 tasks. I've explained the reasons clearly in a previous discussion about the One Thing book, so I won't go into more depth here. But essentially, you always need to identify the single most important task for your day, for the next 3 to 6 months, for half a year, for a year, 5 years, even 10 years, and for your entire life. And you must dedicate your full heart and effort to that one crucial task. One important task is like a lever that creates momentum for your entire life. So here, I will always identify the most important task for the day, and then add 2 or 3 other tasks. This also relates to the priority order of tasks. The book advises placing the most important or most unpleasant task at the top. Completing this significant task will bring a great sense of accomplishment and reduce your tendency to procrastinate. So, these are 3 key methods from this book to help you enhance your learning quality and ability. Additionally, the book offers many other useful methods to boost memory, such as using vivid visual imagery to replace important information we want to remember, employing lively comparisons, and utilizing spaced repetition to consolidate knowledge. Finally, a few parting words for everyone. Throughout our lives, countless things will change, but one thing should remain constant: the spirit of continuous learning. Learning is a lifelong, deliberate practice. Through this continuous practice, you can gradually build a core competence that can transform your entire life. Perhaps after leaving school, many of us find our motivation to learn wanes, and setting goals or finding learning methods becomes difficult. This book will help you realize that you aren't truly afraid or incompetent when faced with things outside your expertise or things you've never done before. You can successfully learn anything you want. You can grasp new knowledge, understand its essence, memorize it, and apply it by building your own knowledge chunks, creating a colossal picture in your brain, yet still mastering the fundamentals and applying them in practice. You can always maintain an optimal state by switching your thinking modes. And furthermore, you need to remember that by maintaining absolute focus to eliminate procrastination, consistently reviewing through repetition, self-testing, setting clear goals, and deliberately practicing when planning your day, you will realize one thing: learning will never again be a gloomy chore. Instead, it will become a miraculous adventure. Continuously progressing and exploring new fields will make your life much more interesting.